From Northern Avenue in Yerevan, this is CivilNet's Daily News Digest. I'm Maria Titizian, and here are your top stories for Wednesday, February 26th. Azerbaijani hackers have launched a cyber attack against Armenian sites. Also, will Russia's migration agency make special allowances for Armenians living and working in Russia? Plus, discussions to create several ad hoc parliamentary committees took place yesterday in the National Assembly, and later watch an inspirational Paralympian talk about a life without limits. Last night, Azerbaijani hackers launched a cyber attack by hacking almost 300 Armenian websites. Among them are Spir.am, Auto.am, MediaMax, Panorama, and Armenia's public television website 1tv.am. Tomorrow, Armenians mark the Sumgait pogrom of 1988 that targeted the Armenian population of Sumgait. Mobs made up of ethnic Azeris attacked and killed Armenians on the streets and in their apartments. The violence was unprecedented in scope in the Soviet Union and received widespread coverage in the Western media. A number of international and Soviet sources described the events as genocide. Will Russia make an exception for Armenian citizens following the implementation of a new migration policy? Reports have been circulating that Armenians will be allowed to stay on Russian territory longer than other foreign nationals. On January 1, Russia introduced a new law under which citizens of countries with non-visa regimes are not allowed to stay longer than 90 days within a 180-day period. Reports now suggest that citizens of Armenia will be able to stay for 150 days within the 180-day period. Amid the speculation of a special status, there is a sigh of relief for the hundreds of thousands of Armenians who live and travel to Russia as labor migrants. CivilNet has requested clarification from the Russian Federation's migration agency regarding these reports. Discussions took place yesterday in the National Assembly on creating an ad hoc committee to look into the controversial natural gas agreements that were ratified in December 2013. The proposal was tabled by the ruling coalition. However, the opposition was quick to call the initiative a ploy to gain time and dampen public outcry regarding pricing and supply of natural gas. Speaker of the National Assembly Hovik Abrahamyan stated that coalition members do not plan on using the committee to, quote, conceal the details of the accrued natural gas debt and prices. He said, "We discussed this issue during the executive session of the Republican Party. President Sarkisyan said that if there are people who took advantage of their position, they will be held responsible." The ruling coalition had quashed an earlier proposal by the opposition to create a similar committee on February 5. To remind our viewers, the government had amassed a $300 million debt for secret subsidies of natural gas and was then forced to sell off its remaining 20% share of Armuz Gazprom as a result. Employees of Nidit, the giant chemical plant which produces chloroprene rubber, held yet another protest in front of the National Assembly yesterday. While the protest took place outside, inside, lawmakers debated the creation of a special commission to look into the situation at the chemical plant. The proposal tabled by the ARF faction in Parliament would investigate unpaid salaries, current debt obligations, and suspension of the plant's operations since 2010. The decision to create the interim committee will be voted on today in Parliament. In the meantime, according to the Armenian government, Russia's largest oil company, Rosneft, is looking to invest $500 million in the construction of a new chemical factory in Armenia. It is not clear if Rosneft will invest or acquire Nidit because of the huge debts of the company that need to be cleared, Prime Minister Sarkisyan said. In the coming weeks, we will hold discussions about the conditions that need to be created for those investments. The European Union Advisory Group of Armenia will terminate its activity at the end of the year. Formed in 2008, the EU's Advisory Group's objective was to assist Armenia in advancing the implementation of the European Neighbourhood Policy Action Plan. Head of the EU delegation to Armenia, Ambassador Traian Hristia, said that the work of the advisory group was effective, noting political and legal reforms, visa facilitation, and readmission agreements among the achievements. The advisory group provided consultations on rule of law, migration, democratic governance, anti-trafficking, and other measures. The ambassador also said that the EU will continue assisting in ongoing reforms in Armenia. For the remainder of its tenure, the advisory group will continue implementing further reforms and strategic programs. OSCE chairperson in office Didier Burkhalter says that special attention should be paid to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict given the tension on the line of contact between Armenia and Azerbaijan. In his speech at the meeting of the UN Security Council in New York, Burkhalter said, "As tensions rise lately with several violent incidents, the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict deserves special attention." Burkhalter also noted that the Swiss chairmanship will maintain and support the established format for the settlement of the conflict, primarily the OSCE Minsk Group, co-chaired by the US, Russia, and France. He voiced earlier concern over the deaths and injuries among military personnel and civilians on the contact line. Prior to his appointment as OSCE chairman, Burkhalter voiced readiness to promote the resolution of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. The Human Rights Association of Turkey has issued a letter to Simonetta Sommaruga, the Swiss Minister of Justice, expressing the organization's disappointment with the decision handed down by the European Court of Human Rights regarding the Perenjek versus Switzerland case. The decision of December 17, 2013 by the European Court rejected the Swiss court decision of 2007 to penalize Turkish nationalist Doğum Perinçek for denying the reality of the Armenian genocide and calling it an international lie in 2005 in the city of Lausanne. The decision went further and even questioned the veracity of the genocide. In the statement, the Human Rights Association of Turkey says, "We, as the Human Rights Association in Turkey, in the name of human rights, of the struggle against racist hatred and of justice in Turkey and elsewhere, we would like to express our belief that the Swiss court's decision to penalize Doğum Perinçek's denialism was a step to protect us all, the entire humanity against racism, and our heartfelt support to Swiss courts exercising its right to appeal against the ECHR decision dated 17 December 2013. A tragic car accident in 1975 changed the trajectory of Candace Gable's life. She went from being a free-spirited 21-year-old to facing a life confined to a wheelchair. Today, almost 4 decades later, she is one of the most successful athletes in the world. Candace is a 9-time Paralympian with 8 gold medals and the winner of 6 Boston Marathons. As an advocate and educator for disability issues, she was in Armenia at the invitation of the U.S. Embassy to help raise awareness about the campaign Lives Without Limits. I had a chance to sit down with her and talk about her life's journey. Take a look.
Life Without Limits. It's a perfect title. I absolutely love it. I am so attracted to it. This Life Without Limits, because it's for everyone. It's not people with disabilities
it's for all
or
of
those
us.
people. It's
right.
Life Without Limits for all of us.
Right,
all
because sometimes limits are up here too.
Exactly, and I think more times limits are up there. And that is where our journey goes, our path goes. Where we need to head is to really change the way we think, open our perception.
To watch the full interview, you can follow the link on your screen. The 15th Annual European Individual Chess Championship will be held in Yerevan, Armenia from March 2 to 15. The championship is dedicated to the memory of Dikran Bedrosyan, a Soviet-Armenian grandmaster and world chess champion from 1963 to 1969, whose 85th birthday will be celebrated this year. Over 270 chess players from 27 countries will participate, including 130 grandmasters and more than 200 chess players with international titles. The exchange rate is up on your screen as we take a look at your forecast. It'll be a partly cloudy day in Yerevan with a high of 15 and a low of -1 Celsius. In Gyumri, the temperature will be 1 with a low of -10 and a chance of snow. In Stepanakert, the high will be 6 and the low 2 with a chance of rain. And our travel forecast takes us to the Big Apple, New York, where the high will be -1 and the high a -7 with snow flurries expected. The history of Armenians in New York City dates back to 1834 when Khachadur Oskanyan arrived from the Ottoman Empire. Oskanyan came prepared with a Protestant missionary education to study at the newly established New York University. After graduation, he took a job with the New York Herald Tribune and later became president of the prestigious New York Press Club. Soon thereafter, he published a book called The Sultan and His People in 1857, which revealed many aspects of Turkish life to an unfamiliar American audience. Many Armenians followed him and came to the U.S. for education. Over the course of the next few decades, thousands of other Armenians came, settling mostly in what is now the Financial District. The first Armenian Sunday school was founded in the 1880s in New York by Barselk Vardukyan. By the early 1900s, Armenian shops, restaurants, and residences were abundant on many streets and corners. So prominent was the Armenian community that Nobel Prize-winning writer Sinclair Lewis depicted an Armenian restaurant from an outsider's perspective in his 1914 book, Our Mr. Wren, The Romantic Adventures of a Gentleman. Following the genocide, thousands of Armenians made their way to the United States, with many of them settling in the New York area. And that is our digest for this Wednesday, February 26. We'd love to hear your comments, so you can write to us at english@civilnet.am, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We leave you today with the iconic Frank Sinatra performing New York, New York live. Enjoy, and I will see you back here again tomorrow.
Number one.